So I hope that answers your question, Mookie. Is there anything else while we have you on the phone?
Okay, great. Thank you. One more question.
Mm-hmm.
What are some inclusion tips to use with students?
Inclusion tips. Okay, I have one for you. So you're wondering about tips to for inclusion. One tip would be, for example, let's say you have a student who you notice that they're kind of a loner at recess. They're by themselves on the playground, not a lot of interaction with their peers. That's not good. In that instance, we do need inclusion. So your first initial reaction, and a lot of teachers' first initial reaction to this topic would be to, okay, maybe allow the student to stay inside the classroom and do homework and work on things that they need to get done. Not such a great idea. We don't really want to do that. So what could we do? Well, one strategy you can use, one inclusion tip you can use is, why not teach the student a board game or a card game? Just take maybe a couple weeks, minutes at a time, work on this game with them to where they understand that they're good with the game. They have it memorized. They have it mastered, what they need to do and the roles in the game. And then one day say, hey, why don't you take this out and show Sally on the playground? That's just one inclusion tip. Edgar, do you have any others you'd like to?
Another situation you might find yourself in is that you see the student maybe not interacting or acknowledging that there's other students around them, seeing them down the hallway and not saying hello to her fellow students or fellow peers. As a teacher, you might sympathize and assume that, maybe they're just unfriendly, that's just their personality, or in the other hand, you could possibly think that they're stuck up, which tends to happen sometimes. An alternative, you could have the class have a class activity where have each member of the class write an essay about themselves, write a biography, which could include, pictures, experiences, things that they like to do, things that, other interests that they might have that the student with the disability can connect with. You could also, these take forms in many ways. The most common way that I've seen them used are with posters, which include like poetry, family history, pictures of places they've been, things they like to do, sports, anything like that. So, that would be a great way not only to learn a bit more, this could also help you to learn more about your students and, create a more richer classroom environment as well.
Awesome. That's what we do want to achieve here. Just give you another example of an instance where you may need inclusion is, let's say you find this student is working very slowly in a math class. What you want to do immediately is shorten the assignment for this student. And by doing this, by immediately shortening the assignment, from the next step from there would be to, you have to assess to determine if he or she understands. Awesome. That's what we want to achieve here. Just give you another example of an instance where you may need inclusion is, let's say you find this student is working very slowly in a math class. What you want to do immediately is shorten the assignment for this student. And by doing this, by immediately shortening the assignment, from the next step from there would be to, you have to assess to determine if he or she understands what the math problems or whatever problems are going on. If they do have an understanding of it, one way you can use inclusion in this case would be to maybe have her act as a cross-age tutor, meaning that she would go to a lower grade and instruct other students in areas that she is more fluent on. That's just one example. Edgar, can you add anything to that?
All right, one more thing we could possibly see ourselves in is we might see that the student is uninterested, bored during your demonstrations and your lectures in class. So, as teachers, I know it won't be you guys, we could assume that the material might be just way too difficult, way beyond their head, or that simply that the student they're just ignoring us, that they're just totally uninterested. We should not be doing that. All right, we need to make sure that the student can see the materials that are being presented, that the teacher is in sight, and that, a good idea would be to have printed copies of maybe what you're talking about, like an outline would be a great idea. Or, maybe give them the worksheet ahead of time so while you're explaining it, they can follow along. And a way to include the class would be to have the students and peers, maybe help pick out materials. Like if you're teaching maybe, I don't know,
That's a good one.
point placements in class, you could use the base 10 blocks that we've used in our class, to
Wait, so you're talking
build the number, not just see it, which the student is obviously going to have a hard time if they're visually impaired. They're going to be able to feel it, to be able to feel like what 1/10 feels like, or point, what 100 base block feels like, and how to compare it with maybe the strip of just 10 blocks. So have them, you have more textile things in front of them.
Thanks, Edgar. So Mookie, pow, there you go. There's some inclusion tips for you. Okay, at this time we're going to go to our email and look at one question, select one question randomly. So here we go. Okay, and this question is from Lakin Reber from cohort W1 out of San Marcos, Cal State San Marcos. And the question reads, how do I assess students with visual impairments? Great question, Lakin. To answer this question, we're going to go to Greece and speak to a expert in the educational field. Socrates, are you there? Via Skype. Socrates, you're there. Oh, we have Socrates. So Socrates, you heard the question. What is your? Oh, we have Socrates. So Socrates, you heard the question. What is your response?
Most students with visual impairments are provided with educational resources in their classroom. Their process is measured at the same time as their peers. They take the same math, social studies, language arts, and science tests at the same time as their fellow students. Sometimes, of course, it is necessary for the TVI to transcribe print material into Braille, or for the student to use a magnifier when reading the test, like a magnifying glass or anything else. But these accommodations are not designed to modify the purpose or difficulty of the test in any way. They are given the same test with the same questions. They are not given anything different. When students prepare their answers in Braille, the TVI writes in print above the Braille exactly what is printed in Braille. After the general educator has written the interline work, the TVI prepares the general educator's comments in Braille for the student.
Great. Interesting. Okay, so a question to that response is it common for, or even is it allowed for teachers to take students out of the classroom to do this testing?
It is not uncommon for students with visual impairments to take their test in a separate classroom. They may need the extra space to spread out materials and any other things that they may need. Usually, students with visual impairments may need the extra time to complete the test because of the slow reading rate that comes with with the visual impairments. You're welcome.
Oh, for to say thanks.
You're welcome.
Oh, for to say thanks.